Token budgets are blowing up across the enterprise. Token maxing is going out of trend. The truth is, AI token budgets cannot be a single line item. Human in the Loop starts now.
I don't know what it was, but we recorded this a week ago and your audio just went out. So I feel like this is like kind of an important topic right now. So we're back. What's up, man?
Yeah. Good, brother. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good. Looking sharp as always, man. You got a button-down shirt on, Sash.
Thank you. I needed to dress up for this one. I felt like that. We haven't, and it's always good to see you.
Always good to see you, man. I see we got the Navy theme going. You got your hair. I'm rocking a hat today, but hey, man, glad we're back. I think, like I said, this is a really important topic right now. The big headline I felt that's dominated the last month about this is Uber blown through their whole annual budget in less than 4 months because of token maxing, right? So let's chat again.
Yeah. I know, and there's so much stuff is moving so fast. So Uber's story was they gave their engineers $1,500 a month of API budget, and everybody blew through their entire year's budget in 4 months. And that's just one story. You'd hear so many other stories around enterprises, even small, medium-sized, and even large enterprises scaling back on API costs and API spends because they're not seeing ROI. But the truth is, it's not just a single line item. And we've talked about this before around sort of the people, process, technology bit. The investment needs to go across, not just for your AI tech systems, but the investment needs to go to process, rethinking workflows, rethinking, reskilling your people, upskilling your people. So all of that has to be kind of a part of how you're thinking about AI budgets. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think spot on. And when it comes to KPIs, we chatted about this before. I don't think we talked about it on this podcast. But all the new KPIs that are being introduced for AI other than revenue. And I'm not trying to downplay costs and all of that. I know that we're in a capitalist country, man. It just dominates. And we can't say, well, innovation is up 20%, but cost is up 5,000%, right? That's not going to fly. But I think we're in the shift of similar to the cloud journey, similar to the Sash journey. How do we really quantify this? And how are we quantifying progress in AI so that we can justify cost?
Yeah. And, it's a little fuzzy too. With SaaS, with cloud, it was a lot of deterministic business outcomes and KPIs. So over a certain period of time, things kind of even out. But with AI, the cost of using AI over an API can be different for different people. And when you kind of factor in Agentic, where it does a lot of stuff in the background and autonomous, you really have to be very diligent about it, control your costs. So I think that's a part which a lot of enterprises are struggling with. The other pattern I'm kind of listening to through a lot of people are how do they kind of quantify individual or team productivity? Fuzzy, right? It's not exactly equating to X amount of revenue or brand new net new services that you bring to the market. But productivity is hard to measure. However, I feel like AI being used for standard sort of knowledge work is becoming table stakes. So where I kind of see it is, AI spend in a company has to be looked at across different workloads, and there's different patterns of usage within the workload, right? Like we've talked about it, right? Talked about our Claude max plans, 5x versus 20x. I think there's a lot of value there in terms of the amount of building we do, because as solo operators, a single kind of max Claude plan, the ROI on that is huge for us. Across automating businesses, building stuff, 20x probably. But you multiply that across, 20,000 people, that's a lot, right?
Yeah. So, and our plans don't scale into enterprise, right? And I don't know Anthropic's terms of service, But I'm assuming there's language in there that more or less is like, hey, Mr. Company of 5,000 people, like you can't buy Claude Max for every person. Like you've got to go with our enterprise,
Yeah,
program, right?
exactly.
Um, so
Exactly.
yeah, it's like,
Uh,
and I think we all, you and I see this coming, that Claude Max, the all you can eat, like that has to be going away soon, right?
Yeah, yeah. They've got to be. It has to change, and we are also hearing a lot about how OpenAI is not making money. They, based on their financials, it was a $38 billion loss last year, but they're
Right.
investing capital. There's a lot of capex investment happening into infrastructure, so something's got to give somewhere. And what's funny is I recently installed something called the Codex Bar. It's developed by Peter Steinberger, and you can connect your Codex as well as your Anthropic um, Pro plans into it, and it monitors your actual tokens and calculates the token cost based on public API costs. So within my 5x plan, I'm actually spending close to $2,000 worth of Claude tokens. So
Right.
think about that.
Codex Bar. All right, I want to
Yeah,
look into
Codex
that.
Bar. It's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
let's hop on in, man. I want to kind of get back into, you covered some really good stuff when we recorded this initially, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
all got muted. All they heard was my voice, and I'm just adding
Uh,
like random one lines of color. So walk us through this, man.
Yeah, yeah. So the way I kind of see it is you can look at AI spend in an enterprise across three different workloads. So there's chat, right? Chat is like assisted thinking, brainstorming. That's your standard kind of chat-based, browser-based chat plans across. So ChatGPT,
What we've all been
Claude,
doing,
what have
right?
yep, exactly what we've all been doing. And then there's coding, which is AI assisted building, so software building. And then the third is agentic. Now, agentic can be two different things. Now, across these three different workloads, you can probably classify almost all functions and businesses, and also processing, or that kind of falls into the agentic. The way I see it in chat is you've got your standard light users, which are they're daily using ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot for general knowledge work tasks. And that will probably be 80, 85, maybe 90% of your organization. And that to me is table stakes. Everybody gets incremental efficiencies and productivity of using AI in chat mode. But you will have certain population of your employees which will be power users, the researchers, the analysts, the marketeers that are creating content. And these power users might not be able to sort of do what they need to do with the standard $20 pro plans. They might need pro plans plus additional usage or the next level up, which is a 5x plan. Now, the way to kind of think about that and budget for who needs what is start everybody up with the $20 pro plans, the standard sort of plan on the ground, and then detect usage patterns. Ask your champions in your company to understand what teams need more, and that will reveal kind of your power users, and then you can decide how to do it. And also, a lot of people don't consider this, but the jump from $20 plan to the next 5x plan is 5 times 5x, so $20 to $100. There's something in between. You can use the plan plus extra usage. So you could account for certain power users having plan plus $25 to $30 of extra usage per month. So that you're not having to buy the $100 plan, but you can sort of still give them the extra usage they need to get their stuff done. But that will come from monitoring, that will come from understanding usage pattern.
Yeah, I think that's the big part, the monitoring, right?
Yeah.
Because Codex Bar is something I need to bring in because I'm guilty of not monitoring. And it's sort of
Yeah.
because I don't really have to, right? Like the way I monitor is when I get a notification that's like, hey, you've used 90% of your current session. I'm like, oh, okay, well now I'm gonna monitor these last 10%, right? I kind of feel like it's like the shampoo model is, you get a bottle of shampoo, right? And just using it liberally, and then it gets down to the bottom. It's like, let me add some water into this and like let me maximize this some more. Um so taking what you said and kind of translate it into the Microsoft world, right? Like I see chat as M365 Copilot, but even that is really for your power users, right? I can't remember what it's called now, but that light user, if it's just Copilot chat, This can even just
Mm.
be free, right? Like I know every company wants to keep searches in house. There's that shadow AI layer, which we'll talk about in our next episode. Um, but I mean, if we're generally chatting about this, I see this cost going straight down to zero if it's not already there,
Yeah.
right? It's where we're like
Yeah.
bringing in, whether it's by RAG, whether it's by expanded models where we don't have to build RAG into that power
Yeah.
user. And then, of course, over into coding agentic, where we're going to see a lot of these costs add up.
Yeah, yeah. And also, most providers are working on tools that will give you that kind of monitoring across teams. Anthropic's actually in their team and enterprise plans. I think they have groups you can create and
Correct.
monitor usage across there as well. So that's important. Then from chat, when we move to coding, coding is where most of your work is done over the API, or your coders are running something like a 5x or 20x plan. This is high output, right? There's a lot of tokens that you need to build stuff, but the ROI is measurable.
Correct.
The ROI is measurable in terms of if you're shipping features faster, if you're bringing new products and services to market faster, if you're building new products faster. That actually directly translate to some sort of a go-to-market KPI or even direct revenue or connect new customers. This needs very tight budgeting and monitoring. And the way kind of I see it is what Uber did is they started with the right? But the budget needs to be accompanied by best practices, training, building workflows that people are not using multiple, like different, more and more tokens for the same job. The repetitive job, it should be consistent. So that way, coding can be measured and monitored, but you kind of have to start somewhere and then see how it goes, your product teams versus your software developer coders or whatnot. But this is more quantifiable, in my opinion, than chat directly.
Agreed. We talked about this when we initially recorded. Of these three, I see coding having the highest spend because you can measure that ROI, right? Like if we think of coding to your point below of software development, we've mastered as an industry, we've mastered the art of defining ROI on software development. Most companies who are developing software, we know why they're doing it. They know why they're doing it. We're either going to sell that and turn a profit, or we are going to transform our business. And we already know this, right? I think the chat is probably also in that bucket, even for the power users. Not as easily defined because I don't see any of these light user or power users turning a profit. But it's just in the grand scheme of like what is consuming the most tokens, chat is going to be the lightest in my opinion. So the ROI is just it's easier to justify because we know it's not going to be massive. And I think these are going to be more of like your all you can eat plans versus as we shift into agentic, who knows what we're doing, who knows what it's going to cost, who knows how we're going to justify it, like where are we bringing in new KPIs. And I was doing some research about this, about like what are non-revenue and non-money KPIs for AI that we're going to be talking about in 2, 3, 5 years. And a couple things that came out, like McKinsey defined what like their 5-layer AI measurement framework in their state of AI in November of last year. And it talks about adoption of AI being one of the most common failure points in capturing value from AI efforts. And without sustained engagement and trust, the downstream operational KPIs simply do not move, right? Which I understand that as the person who was leading and driving adoption, they are doing the work that comes before revenue, but that the revenue at KPI will never actually credit.
And the bigger the kind of use cases are, larger the companies, it kind of changes a lot too. So that kind of moves us to agentic, which is, I think, the most fuzziest part of all of this, and they can be two things. It can be personal agentic or production agentic. Personal agentic means your employees, knowledge workers, or even coders driving multi-step personal workflows. Think about something, what everyone wants. Everyone wants automation, autonomy to execute certain tasks. It could be running skills, within your cloud subscription, or it could be building agentic workflows on a no-code platform, like any kind of like Power Platform or N8N. Pick one. The other part, production, is deployed agents, and these are deployed agents which are deployed against very specific business processes. I think that part is something a lot of companies are trying and struggling because agentic is autonomous. It's non-deterministic. You give the agent a goal, and the agent picks its own best method based on the instructions, context, and tools it has to accomplish the task, which means a lot of background tasks. And this is where, if you're not watching the meter, one long-running agentic task could burn through your budget overnight. That has happened so many times. There's so many stories around it. This is kind of where,
note, right? I was talking to my agent this morning, Silas, about a task, and I was like, "Hey, I want to do all this work over here, but I want you to manage like the actual cron, the automation." And responded and said, "Well, I already have 33 background crons that I'll be running, so like adding one is nothing."
No problem.
Which for him, fair enough, it makes sense. But like, again, no issue for me because I'm on an all-you-can-eat plan. But like, 34 background processes, like just for little old me.
Yeah. And there's a story where there was one particular long-running agent that got stuck on a particular step of a task, and the API bill ran $35,000. Imagine that, right? And
I want to.
This exactly. So here's what I think helps here, right? One is you have to budget a hard budget for the agent and build every single agent with an eval harness and a kill switch. Where if there's a certain task that is exceeding, amount of time, amount of tokens burned, amount of loops it has run through, so you have to have an eval harness that actually helps you monitor that, and even an auto kill switch or a manual kill switch to kill the agent, restart the task, what have you. These practices have to be built in. You have to kind of think about these things before you deploy the agent into production. Now, the other thing, what I'm seeing as a pattern between coding and agentic, because of the fuzzy nature and the total volume of tokens needed, people are thinking about open source, right? That's the alternative. Now, there's also other risks with frontier models right now. There's regulatory risk, there's state-based risk. What happens if, just like Fable 5, Opus gets turned off tomorrow? If Opus gets turned off tomorrow, your software engineering team or your agents that are running production processes are hosed, man. So,
and that could be the same thing for GPT 5.5, right? Or any model that isn't hosted, that isn't self-hosted, right? Like there's probably less risk for your Qwen DeepSeek, just because of where they are. But yeah, I think it's we mentioned this in the last episode too, or this V1 of this episode, where like, is AI going to almost adopt like an IaaS approach? Like, let me just deploy a really powerful VM in my private cloud and let me load the largest model I can. Maybe it's a Qwen, right? 32 billion, I think will work in like a 24 gigabytes of memory. Do I just throw that in there, right? And then I have that model locally owned in my cloud and zero risk of that model going away.
Yep. And cost is controlled. And some of these Qwen 3.5 and Qwen 35 billion, Kimi K2, GLM, these models are getting as good as Frontier in terms of coding. Yeah. They're very good. So it actually, you spend CapEx once, or you rent hardware and you install and build a practice in your center of excellence to manage these models, fine-tune these models. You will not only save cost in your coding and agentic workload, you will actually also manage the risk of frontier models going away for whatever reason, right?
And I think you'll get better at the all-up AI, right? Because like, I know I take the Claude harness for granted, right? Like, I'm just like, oh, I can interact with this model. And then you start interacting with a different model that doesn't have that built in. And it's like, wait a minute, why are you terrible? But at the same sense, it will drive better practices for me. Like I'm throwing around that. Like, should I just buy a $1,600 or $2,000 super powerful Mac Mini just to have a
Yeah.
local model and then get rid of my Claude subscription? It's why I think
Yeah.
like one of the courses you teach on Maven, right, around your orchestrator method is so powerful, and like understanding what that harness looks like, how to build it. Because at the end of the day, like you understand the harness, if you build a harness, like I think that's where the
Yeah.
shift is going, right? Instead of just relying on
It
a
is.
model.
We're gonna build a harness, man. We're gonna run a powerful open source model. We're gonna build our own harness, and because that's the way to go, right? And it's not just saves
Harness
cost.
in the
We
loop.
get better at harness in the loop. There you go, HITL. So kind of that's the patterns. I think if organizations think about it in these three workloads, find business champions within your business units to understand better the usage patterns across them, and try to just kind of imagine this across these three workloads and 5 patterns and test. Build monitoring systems, look out there for other apps and software that's available for you to monitor it. And then start small and start scaling up. Skill your people on best practices, better token usage, token efficiencies, and that will go a long way. Always can start considering open source as well. You know, in the cloud world, people started with one cloud, but eventually in 3 to 5 years, almost all large enterprises had a dual cloud strategy. So now you got to have a frontier and an OSS strategy for models. That's where I'm at with this.
No, I love it, man. Well, one thing that came to mind, if anyone's watching this and going back to your monitoring around like cost, token spend, kill switch, etc., take a look at Paperclip. I don't know if Paperclip is an enterprise tool, but I played around with it, and it's for that reason. The whole concept of Paperclip is a fully agentic company where you can spin up agents. They run on heartbeats, but for every agent, you can, hey, is this a Claude agent? Is this a Hermes agent? Is this a Codex agent? Where does this live? What is the monthly budget for this? What is the token cap? And it will auto kind of kill it. Whether you use Paperclip or not, I think exploring that, I don't know if harness is the right term, but that like governance layer of it, fantastic, super critical too.
Yeah, absolutely. Test it out. And I'm sure very soon in the market, you're going to start seeing multi-provider monitoring tools come up, or build one. You know, you've got build your own kind of system that you need to monitor this stuff. It's all over the API, so I'm sure it'll be
And if you have no idea how to build this, where would you start?
Ask your favorite AI.
Your favorite AI. How did I know you were going to say that, Sash? Cool. Good stuff, man. We ran long, as I figured we would. Super, super important topic. I think the risk of token maxing going so high is that people, and so let me take this way. The risk of token maxing going so high is resulting in companies introducing limits, introducing lower limits than I think any employee would want, which as a result is like, well, if I can't do it here, I'm going to do it in my own space and create that shadow AI. It's exactly what we're going to talk about next week.
Nice plug, brother.
Yeah, man.
All
Always
right.
a pleasure. Enjoyed it, man.
Always a pleasure.
Cheers.